Coming up on Midco Motorsports, a little extra fun at the fair in Jackson where 410 drivers were chasing another hefty payday. We've got a full recap. This North Dakota woman proved long ago that racing isn't just for the boys. She's still going strong. Shawn has her story. All that plus the closest finish in River Cities Speedway history and another edition of Shop Talk. The green flag drops now. Sprint cars own the spotlight Friday at the Jackson County Fair. How's everybody doing? I'm Jay Elson, and this is Midco Motorsports. The fair race is a long-standing tradition at Jackson Motorplex, but the $10,000 payday that was offered to the winner of this year's 410 Sprint Car main event certainly added a little extra intrigue. More on that in this week's A Feature.
Mark Dobmeyer carried a 42-point lead over Tim Kading into the night, but was still searching for his first win at the track. The HRA non-wings led things off halfway through. Good fight for first between the 0 of Alex Schriever and Brandon Halverson in the 13 MJ. Halverson gets by Schriever on the outside. Next time around, though, the two get too close for comfort. Halverson spins after contact with Schriever in turn 2, but he keeps it moving. That was huge because while the caution did come out, it wasn't for him. So Halverson gets to go back to the front for the restart, and he would finish it off from there. He picks up his second straight win in Jackson. Great story in the 360 sprints. These guys were a late addition to the show, thanks in large part to the family and friends of the late Barb Wiskus. Her grandson, Derek Lusk, was one of them, and he had the 2-car flying. Lusk way out in front with a couple of laps to go, but he almost sees it all slip away. Mark Tays sends him over the edge, but Lusk somehow saves it. Smooth sailing after that as Lusk goes on to claim one of the more emotional victories of his career.
To finally get the fair race and do it for my grandma, and she just loved racing, and to do it in her honor and finally collect the trophy, this so special trophy that it is, it just means the world to me.
The 305 sprints had a tough time getting going, but once they did, it was over pretty quickly. Brandon Allen piloted the 05X to the lead thanks to a fantastic start, and from that point forward, everyone else was racing for second. Allen leads wire to wire for his first victory of the year.
We've done nothing but struggled this year so far, and everybody's worked real hard. My whole family's come together and helped me do this, and they helped me keep a good car under me. Like I said, the dyno time, that was a huge bonus.
That brought out the big guns. 23 cars going 25 laps for 10 grand. Dusty Zomer would lead early from the pole, but there was a rocket ship behind him, and it belonged to Aaron Reutzel. The 87 liked the top side, and Reutzel rides that line to the lead on lap 5. Behind him, Dobmeyer did all he could to reel in the silver spot, but it wouldn't happen. Zomer and Dynamite stayed second and third, respectively. Meanwhile, Reutzel just kept on sailing. A couple of late restarts simply delayed the inevitable as he ultimately dusts the field by more than 5 seconds.
We had a great race car, and I knew if I could just get to turn 1 without a big slider being thrown on me or something, I knew it was going to take a pretty good race car to catch us in clean air because we were pretty fast. It's definitely a big confidence booster to win a 410 show, and just know that we got this much speed in this race car, and it's definitely a confidence booster, and that $10,000 goes in the check really in the bank really nice too.
Late models headline the shows at I-94 and Rapid Speedways on Friday. We'll show you those highlights when we come back. The Shaw Trucking with Soda Late Model Challenge Series wrapped up the July portion of its schedule over the weekend with 3 events in as many days. The first of those came Friday night at I-94 Speedway in Fergus Falls.
Packed house on their feet for the 28-car main event, which paid $3,000 to win. Man of the night was Don Shaw. The Ham Lake, Minnesota driver quickly took control from his number 2 starting spot, and boy was he fast. Shaw's top speed of 78.406 was nearly 2 miles per hour quicker than anyone else. and he blew this thing wide open. Shaw wins by more than 10.5 seconds, giving him 5 straight victories at I-94, but his first King of the Dirt crown.
You take the lead here, you better keep the lead because it's hard to get it back. And I just drove the car hard, and the car was absolutely perfect. I think everybody can contest to that it was pretty good. So to win this one was definitely a big checklist because this is one of the few that I haven't won. That and the Sykes Memorial. So I'm hoping to check that off this year, and then we'll really be happy.
The Midwest late models were the headliners for Friday's show at Rapid Speedway. We'll start with the B-Mods, though. Kurt Ahler's in command in the 15A, but Maya Christensen creeping up. The 782 climbs 2 spots to second with a good run between turns 3 and 4. A few laps later, Dustin Cruz enters the picture. They're 3 wide after a restart, and it's the 6 car that emerges with the lead. Things got a little confusing from there, though. Final lap, Christensen completes a pass for what looks like the win, but hold on. Cruz declared the winner, and we'll let him take it from there.
Over our receiver that we have to wear, they never said who won, so I figured, well, he got me to the checkered, so I got second, but the tech guy told me they went back a lap and you won on the front stretch, so we got the W.
The night's main event featured a little sibling rivalry. The Beinhoff brothers, Nate and Nick, starting second and third respectively. But it's Nate that gets a great jump off the restart here, and he takes over the top spot from Jordan Hyman. The 51 would build a huge lead over the next several laps before a caution slowed his progress with just a few to go. And that's where older brother pounced. Nick goes high to make the pass, and he would pull away from there. Nick scores his first win in 4 starts at his hometown track.
I kind of felt bad for him because I knew that he had, he was going to go back to the bottom getting into turn 1, and the top had come in and gotten a lot better. So I just held my line, picked the top, and rolled around there and just kept my momentum up the whole race. Yeah, the car was really good. That was a lot of fun.
Well, she started as a trailblazer, but this North Dakota woman has become a respected competitor on the regional racing scene. We'll share her story after this. And welcome back. Well, racing has evolved so much over the years that it can be easy to forget about some of the pioneers that forged new paths within the sport. Brian Shawn introduces us to one such trailblazer, a small-town North Dakota woman whose passion remains as strong as ever.
Larry and Leanne Christensen have been together for over 30 years, living on their farm in Spiritwood, North Dakota. And the couple has always enjoyed life in the fast lane and aren't ready to slow down.
It's so enjoyable, The adrenaline, I guess, is what you do it for. It's hard to just step away.
I know we have a lot of fun doing it, and there's sad times too, but we do have a real enjoyable summer out of it.
Leanne first got behind the wheel when she was just 20 years old, at a time when very few women competed.
My cousin Steve Klein, he started building a race car, and one night he said, well, drive it in the powder puff. I drove it in the powder puff and got second place, first night ever being in a race car, so I thought that was pretty good.
In 1981, she hit the circuit with the men, becoming the first ever woman stock car driver in the state.
It was tough, no doubt about it. You had a lot of people from the stands that said, oh, what are you doing out there? But most of the racers were supportive. You still had a few that didn't like the idea, but I was competitive even when I first started. It just took a few years to get respect from all the other drivers.
A few drivers took Leanne under their wing, showing her the ropes, including longtime veteran John Carell. She got her first win in 1983 as Leanne Klein, before marrying Larry a couple of years later.
We kind of run into each other through bowling, and all of a sudden the stock cars got connected. So, I like messing with them.
Leanne continued to drive and compete until 1994, when her car was no longer legal due to a classification change. But in 2001, she decided to make a comeback after an unusual discovery.
We have all these cars on the farm, And I kept looking at one. It was my husband's car, and it had been in a minor accident in the front end. And I kept telling him, I think that car is legal now. He kept saying, no, it's not. Well, one day I went out there with a tape measure, and it was legal, so there. I had my car.
Leanne has been racing pure stocks ever since, and in 2015 picked up her first victory in 3 decades.
I couldn't believe it. I was happy. I mean, we've been so close so many times and something happens, but this time she went all the way, and it was the first time I'd ever seen her win, since we've been married.
I could hear the crowd. It was amazing. Because I have fans that have followed me the whole time and never gave up, knew sometime I was gonna not make a mistake, basically, and win one, and I did.
Leanne is now the veteran, a legend of sorts, but she still doesn't look at it that way.
I never, ever thought of the pioneer aspect or the first woman to do it in North Dakota. They told me that I was, and I thought, really? I just didn't, it wasn't at that time. Of course, now I'm the oldest one in my class, and I'm racing against the kids of people I raced back in the 80s. I think just being able to be around the people and enjoying what you do, that's so satisfying. If it's not fun, I think then it's time to step away.
But that doesn't appear to be anytime soon. Reporting for Midco Motorsports, I'm Brian Shawn.
Well, not only is Leanne an accomplished race car driver, she also knows her way around a bowling alley. Christensen is set to be inducted into the North Dakota Bowling Hall of Fame this fall. Well, coming up, River Cities Speedway is known for great racing, of course, but not even the bull ring had seen a finish quite this good before. We'll let you know just how close it was next. Nobody on the NOSA Racing Series is hotter than Wade Nygaard right now, and the proof is in the numbers. Over the last 7 weeks, the reigning champ hasn't finished lower than 4th, and had picked up wins in 4 of his last 5 starts heading into Friday's show at River Cities.
Nygaard was going to find it tough to match the excitement from the night's Street Stocks feature, though. With 11 to go, Ryan Johnson moves into second behind the 4 car of Trey Hess. Final lap now, it's a 3-horse race with those two and Aaron Blacklance, and it doesn't get a whole lot closer than this. In the end, it's Johnson by 2 1/1000ths of a second, which is the closest finish in RCS history. Wild start for the Midwest Modifieds. Jason Halverson goes for a rough ride in turn 3. Fortunately, though, he did walk away from that uninjured. Good battle ensued when racing resumed, with the 17 of Lance Schill working its way past Todd Johnson and Jesse Aho for the lead. And it was all 17 from there. Schill gets his 2nd win of the year. But he was just getting started. Schill got right back out there with his A-Mod, and things went pretty well there too. Off a restart with 2 to go, the 17 makes the pass stick on Scott Greer for the lead, and Schill would close it out from there. He goes 2 for 2 to complete a rare modified sweep.
Spent a lot of time in the shop, and we rely really hard on AJ and Jimmy for setup, and getting a couple of laps in the car with the A-Mod and stuff helps a lot. So I don't know. Obviously, luck has a lot to do with it at racing. We know that too.
After starting 10th for the late model feature, Dustin Strand found himself in 3rd for a restart with 6 to go, but he wasn't satisfied with that. Strand dives to the inside to take the lead away from Brandon Fuller, and that was it. Strand parks the 71 in victory lane for the 5th time.
Once I got to the leaders, I was just kind of trying to tire them out, I guess, and finally Fuller got just a tick tight, and I found an opportunity to get up in front of him, and he ran a heck of a good race tonight, though.
Finally, it was time for Nygaard and those NOSA sprints. The 9 car duking it out with the 2A of Austin Pierce in this one. And here he is, gaining the edge with a good jump off an early restart. Lap traffic would slow his roll a bit, and Pierce nearly retakes the lead. Things got a little more hairy on the final lap. Nygaard, though, able to avoid the roadblock, and he does it again, folks. Nygaard collects his 3rd straight NOSA victory and his 2nd of the season at the Bull Ring.
It was pretty fun racing with Austin on the lead, and I knew I just had to get out front first, so he had to work for it actually.
To Casino Speedway, where Sunday was Race of Champions qualifier night. Not much drama in the street stocks division. Points leader Maria Broxick took control right off the start, and she would maintain a couple car length lead pretty much the whole way. She's now a two-time winner in Watertown.
Diving into the bottom and just getting a great run off the bottom. That was able to keep it down there and hold everyone else off.
There was a little more action in the modifieds. 4 laps in, Morgan Ward challenging for the lead when she slips in turn 3. The 41 of Jordan Foster gets caught up as well, but the caution goes to Ward. She would come back to finish 4th, but Foster got to take over the lead, and he never let it go. Foster comes from 7th to notch his 2nd victory.
We've just been working really hard on our race car, spending a lot of time in the shop, and we changed some stuff tonight. We weren't quite where we wanted to be, and we changed some stuff, and it worked really good. Had an awesome race car.
Great start for Shawn Melsom in the Super Stocks feature as he shoots past fellow front row starter Jeremy North for the early lead. The 8 car wouldn't stay there for long though. Less than a lap later, Trevor Nelson moves past North for 2nd, then quickly reels in Melsom as well. Big night for Nelson. Not only does he get his 2nd win, but he also takes over the lead in the points. The late models rounded out the night, and while most of the excitement had happened early in the races, this one got good late. Kurt Kranz had the 87 dialed in, and he would dominate for much of the night. A caution would bring him back to the pack with 6 to go, though, and that was great news for points leader Chad Becker. The 12, which started 8th, with a great move to go from 3rd to 1st, and the Aberdeen native would lock it down from there. Becker has now won 8 of the last 12 features at Casino.
And after the restart, I just knew I had to run it hard and I could get across the middle better than most, and end up getting lucky and getting out front and taking it.
Looks aren't the only major difference when it comes to race cars. They also present some unique challenges on the track. Dustin Strand will discuss some of those differences in this week's Shop Talk after this. The difference between one kind of car to the next is usually fairly obvious, but the on-track adjustments the drivers have to make in those machines isn't necessarily as clear. More on that in this week's edition of Shop Talk.
Welcome back to Shop Talk. Once again in the shop of Dustin Strand, who is the 2016 Wayzata National Champion. Chris Shearick joining me, our Midco SN racing analyst, and late model. And then when we slowly, gradually move over, we get to an A mod. Bit of a difference. Dustin, I know for you, you've kind of started at that stock level and kind of moved your way up. Talk about the progression and the biggest differences as you're going from stock up to a late model.
Yeah, we started out actually in a pure stock and raced a street stock and a super stock and a B mod and then an A mod, now a late model. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of driving differences between them. You know, you start out street stock, supposed to be pretty much all stock suspension. You know, of course there's little tricks here and there, everybody mods them up or whatever, you know, but then you get, once you move up to like a B mod, a B mod and A mod are pretty similar as far as the chassis is concerned, but there's a few differences. The biggest thing is a little bit of aerodynamics. The A mods have these wings on the side of the nose, and you can run a 5-inch spoiler where you're on a 2-inch spoiler with a B mod. And then the engine, the motors in these are actually pretty similar to like a 360 late model spec motor, other than it's steel headed, where these, the late model can run aluminum heads and these are steel heads. So it's probably, you know, 40 to 50 horse different, but these still get around the track pretty good.
Driving wise, what is the main difference between a street stock driving, B mod driving, to the A and the late model?
Well, I'd say the biggest difference is speed. I mean, as you progress up the classes, you're going around the track, you're entering the corner faster, and of course, every step up, you're a little more fancy on the suspension on the front and the rear, so they handle a little better, you know. As far as cornering and whatever, the modifieds definitely drive nicer than the street stock, but you're always going faster. And I actually think that the late model drives easier than like my A mod, because you have that big tire on the ground. But then again, you got everything's happening that much faster, so you got to be hanging on a little more. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
You talked to Chris about how you got to drive a car into a turn. A sprint car from what you drove is different, right? I mean, that's part of it.
It is. I know for a sprint car, the harder you drive it into the corner, the easier it is. Tell me about, if you drive a late model into the corner really hard, or do you ease it into the corner?
Well, depends on the track condition, I guess. If it's a really heavy racetrack with a big cushion on the top, you're probably just driving it in wide open, using the brakes to turn it, and you're back on the throttle again. Whereas once the track starts to clean up and starts slicking off, the late models are a lot more particular than even the modifieds about keeping them really straight. Like if there's nothing to lean on the racetrack, these cars are, like I explained before, they're really down on the right front. They're tied down really hard, keeping that nose sealed off, and they're really particular about keeping the car straight. Once you shear your traction sideways, it seems like you don't go forward, and you're waiting until the next corner to gain your traction again. Yeah. So that's a huge deal, keeping them straight when it starts to dry out, for sure.
Yeah, it's all about momentum.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And you still drive that A-Mod over there. You still got one. You still bust it out once in a while.
Yeah, well, it's kind of our main business. We do a ton of B-Mod stuff, and so I kind of need to keep up on my modified stuff to keep my guys going fast. That's what keeps them coming here. So
it's a big key.
Yeah. So but yeah, I really enjoy racing the A-Mod deal too. I'm pretty excited. Grand Forks has got them this weekend, so it'll be fun to race at a home track again with that car.
All right, that's Shop Talk again with Dustin Strand.
All right, that is our time for this week. We'll leave you with a quick look at this week's Midco Motorsports calendar. Enjoy the races, everyone. We'll see you next time.